Well, here we are. It is about 10 days into the season here in Illinois, of course. Obviously, the season is going on and has been going on for a while. But what I want to do through this year is keep you updated on how my season is going, right? And this year is very, very, very unique because we started off with just pure heat, right? It was 85 degree temperatures here in Northern Illinois. I have to admit, if it wasn't for my one buddy kind of prodding me along a little bit saying, nah, you need to go out on the opener, I almost wasn't going to go. I'm glad that I did because, as always, anytime you get out in the woods, you're constantly scouting. Listen, at the end of the day, whether you are seeing deer or not seeing deer, it's about all the data that you're picking up going in, going out of the stand, checking your trail cameras, and so forth. So what my strategy was to stick with those Acorns. I've got a couple of trail cameras that I had in kind of just weird areas, to be honest with you. One of them was actually just monitoring a road, and not that I was getting a lot of bucks there, but it was amazing that the one oak tree that was overhanging this one gate that I keep an eye on, the amount of deer that were just eating those acorns. It was kind of fun to watch. Initially, the canopy was dropping those acorns further away, and as they ate those, they just kept coming closer and closer and closer to the camera. So then, as the couple of days progressed here, everybody started talking about the cold front that was coming in. Now, Justin right now, if he was sitting next to me, would say what? Todd, was it really everybody? Well, listen, when it comes to my group of friends, there is no doubt the chatter was, are you going to get out there and hunt the cold front? My opinion, the answer is simple. Whenever you have a change that goes from 85 degree weather down to, we actually had some frosts here recently, yes, you want to be in the woods. There are some people that are like, nah, the first cold front of the season, they're not going to be up on their feet very much. And I'm going to tell you what, that is not true. Let's just rattle some names off real quickly. I mean, Levi shot an absolute monster buck, Levi Morgan. Lee Lakoski shot a monster buck. Ben Rising shot a monster buck. Todd Graff did not shoot a monster buck, but I will tell you, I was close. And I'm chasing an absolute beautiful buck, and I got close. Oh, I mean, one time he was at 95 yards, and then the other time he was at like 80 yards. And luckily for me, didn't spook him. I know where he's bedding. I'm going to continue with my strategy. We've got a lot of rain coming here, actually almost 4 or 5 days worth of rain, so that's fine. And I got to go do a colonoscopy, so I'm going to be knocked out of the woods for a couple of days, which completely just blows. Paul, I don't know what that look is for. I know it's lame, but I got to do what I got to do. You turn 50, and there's just some things you have to do. Actually 51, I put it off for a year. So anyhow, with that being said, big bucks were on their feet. They were being seen. I had another friend of mine who saw one of his shooter bucks, great footage that he got, nice big buck, just wasn't able to get a shot off at him. And speaking of hunts in general, I started off focusing in on those acorns, and I continue to stay on those acorns. None of my monsters actually showed up. In my opinion, that is complete success. I did go on a hunt a couple of days after that, and I kind of left the acorns alone, and I switched over to a clover plot. And sure enough, there's this big white oak in front of me, and I could hear it dropping a few acorns, but there was a tree behind me that was dropping a lot more of them. And would you believe it? Another nice buck shows up right below that tree there. And unfortunately, in that particular case, that wind was straight out of the north, and then there's a big kind of cut that goes down. And unfortunately, as it got later and later in the day, my scent just started to get sucked down there, and I unfortunately did get busted by that buck. But I'll tell you what, it has been a great start of the season as far as I'm concerned. Deer have been up, they've been on their feet, they've been eating, and it's funny because now I'm checking my cameras now that we're getting to the tail end of this cold front, and last night the cameras were about the worst that I've had in a while. Paul, I didn't have a chance to really talk to you. Come on now, this is the, dude, Illinois, you're here hunting what's supposed to be great spots. How'd you do?
So far I've hunted 3 times and I've only seen 1 deer in 3 hunts. So
Ooh.
my cameras have been lighting up. there are deer there. I'm
Okay.
just not able to catch up with them. So this past
All right.
weekend over the cold front, I had 3 sits in over the weekend. Every single sit, I had coyotes sounding off within probably 200 yards of me. So obviously that doesn't help my case at all.
Does that happen back home a lot where you live?
No, not at all. Like if I hear one coyote, it's something, it's something to note. Out here, I probably heard at least half a dozen, if not a dozen, coyotes.
Yeah, it's interesting in how many coyotes we have in this area. And you've seen on the show here, if you watch long enough, I mean, sometimes when in doubt, back out. We talk about it all the time. And it's amazing now that you've heard those things sound off like that. Like on those times when you have to let a deer lay overnight, like now you can see why you've seen some of the videos where the coyotes have just devoured the deer. It's amazing. Well, your luck's going to change because at the end of the day, dude, you just got to keep pounding away. And that's the stuff that you need to think about. There's no doubt early season's tough, guys. Listen, no, I did not go into some of my best spots. No, I didn't trek through the woods and lay down a bunch of scent and try to bust out a bunch of deer. I kept my morning hunts. Actually, I only hunted twice in the mornings. I really don't like hunting and messing up their patterns early season like this. So I got busted at the one morning hunt that I did go on. I got busted. So I generally try to stay away from the morning hunts. That light switch will flip probably around, for me, around the 20th is probably when I'll start venturing into my morning hunts. But we got a long season ahead. So remember, pace yourself. Pay attention to the cold fronts. Pay attention to the fact that it is a long season and you need to pick your days wisely, whether when it comes time to vacation time and so forth. Try to look at that 2-week extended forecast. Try to put some of those plans in place. If you got a good boss that you can talk to, and I'm not trying to give Paul any ideas here, but you got to pay attention to those ideas in terms of when you want to take off the right days for sure. Some of the Acorn supplies, I mean, guys, I'm telling you, it's amazing how quickly acorns can also get eaten up. I mean, I know there's a ton of them in there, but I am telling you, there is this one acorn tree that I know of that has so many acorns on it. Like you could not walk without it, just like you were like walking on a carpeting of acorns. And within 2 weeks now, I mean, it is like, it's unbelievable. Like if you wanted to go squirrel hunting, I know a spot right now where you can kill a ton of squirrels. But I mean, it is amazing between the deer, the squirrels, and everything else that eat acorns, chipmunks, whatever. I mean, they are just like, it's amazing how quickly they disappear. So another thing I want to mention before we wrap this up, it's not just about cold fronts, right? It's also just paying attention to every hunt you go on to, so you're banking all this knowledge for the future. This next little tip is an important one. If you're going to a stand, maybe you pass another stand on the way to getting to a stand. Maybe you're out just doing some trimming. Always pay attention to what the wind speed and direction is on that particular day. So when you're either trimming stands or going to make sure that they're ready to go, that you're paying attention. Like if I was hunting here right now, would this wind direction work or not work for this particular stand? It is so critical in your overall success. I was on the phone with Kurt because he was all excited about hunting this one spot that we have called the Pickle Plot. And it was a northwest wind. And I'm telling you, on a map, on hunt stand, thinking that, hey, here's the northwest wind, this should work out perfectly. Kurt slipped in there, had all the saddle gear, had a tree in mind, got up there, and that wind was 100% doing the exact opposite thing. He got down, went and chose another stand. It got to the point where no matter what he did on this particular plot, it just wasn't gonna work. The wind just wasn't good enough on that day for that wind. So he ended up going to a completely different spot. So make sure you're paying attention to the wind, the speed, and the different stands that you have, so that way you increase your odds of success. And more importantly, if you're in a situation where the wind's just not right, get down and move and find a different spot. Guys, until next time, bow hunt or die. Get out, shoot your bow, stay ready, because it's not gonna be long and that next cold front, it's gonna be coming in. I'm not sure I like that ending. We're gonna take it from somewhere else, but what do you wanna do?